Here comes Tony, walking in the room, mic in hand, something's about to boom. Tell me what you gotta say. Tell me, make it count today. Big Tony speaks, and everybody listens. Big Tony speaks, his voice just keeps on lifting. When Tony talks, you know you gotta hear him. Big Tony speaks. Sit right down, let me hear your voice. Share your thoughts, Tony gives you choice. Tell me what you gotta say. Tell me, make it count today. Your voice speaks, Big Tony speaks, and everybody listens. Big Tony speaks, his voice just keeps on lifting. When Tony talks, you know you gotta hear him. Big Tony speaks, Big Tony speaks. He's got something to say every single day. He's got something to say. Come on out and play. Big Tony speaks, and everybody listens. Big Tony speaks, his voice just keeps on lifting. When Tony talks, you know you gotta hear him. Big Tony speaks, Big Tony speaks. Big Tony, Big Tony speaks.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Big Tony Speaks. I'm Big Tony, your host, and I'm kind of flabbergasted by some of the articles that we have for you today. You just can't make this stuff up. Not a whole lot of super political stuff today. Sometimes you just got to kind of take a break. There's a little bit of politics in there, in the mix, so to speak. Of course, as you might have seen, my thumbnail is about an assistant of Jeffrey Epstein is testifying before Congress and has a few things to say. So we're gonna get to that, and we have some other stories that mostly they are things that you just can't make up. Sometimes you just gotta step back from all the politics and the BS and whatnot. So that's what we're doing. Like I said, we got the story about Epstein and a couple other things, but mostly it's just stuff that I came across that is like, wow, you just cannot make this stuff up. So do me a favor, go down below and hit that like, that thumbs up, whatever you want to call it, on your platform. And if you're not already following or subscribed to this channel, please do go ahead and hit that follow or subscribe button, whatever it is on your platform, and turn on those notifications so you know when I come on, which, by the way, is 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday. And that's Eastern Standard Time, by the way, so nobody gets confused. Plenty of opportunities for you all to come see me and for me to talk to you all. So, anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our first story. And it's one of those, before we get to the Epstein thing, it's one of those you just can't make it up stories. In fact, that's in the title. So let's do it here. So here you go. You can't make this up. A dog shoots a woman with a shotgun during a gas station stop. By the way, good to see you in the chat loaded. And Marilyn is at work, so she'll be chatting in when she can between her duties at work. So, yeah, dog shot a woman. And this is not the dog, it's a stock photo there. In an incident that belongs in Ripley's Believe It or Not, a dog managed to fire a gun and hit a woman while it was inside a vehicle last week in Nebraska. As KNOP reported, Scottsbluff police officers were called to shortstop at 2002 Avenue I in the city after receiving a report that a person had been shot by a BB gun at 12:07 p.m. They were later informed while driving to the gas station and convenience store that the incident involved a shotgun. Shotgun, y'all. When the police arrived, they were confronted with a shocking truth. The culprit responsible for the shooting incident was not human. Rather, it was man's best friend. Yes, a dog accidentally pulled the trigger of a gun and somehow shot a woman from several feet away. KNOP reported, according to Scottsbluff police, the owner of the truck had pulled into the convenience store while the passenger was standing near the front passenger side door. A dog in the back seat moved from one side of the vehicle to the other. The dog triggered a shotgun that had a live shell in the chamber, causing the firearm to discharge. Oh, excuse me, y'all. At the time of the gunfire, a woman was stopped at the traffic light on Avenue I with her arm resting out the window. One pellet from the shotgun blast struck her in the upper right arm. Her injury was not believed to be life threatening, and a family member transported her to Regional West Medical Center for treatment. Investigators also noted there was damage to the vehicle's passenger side door consistent with a shotgun blast. No other injuries were reported in the incident. Per KNOP, an investigation into the incident remains ongoing. Cool, loaded. Um, there is no word on the canine's fate at this point. Hopefully, nothing happens to it. So the animal, apparently the gun was like laying in the seat or something like that. You know, and I guess I'm assuming that somehow or another a claw or a paw got into the trigger guard and depressed the trigger, and the gun had, of course, had a shell in the chamber. Discharges, and a single pellet hits a woman. That's why the initial, yeah, probably, so really really lightweight trigger. Um, but a single pellet flies out to the street, to the intersection, and hits a lady on the arm. That's why she initially reported that someone shot her with a BB gun. Maybe so, maybe so. But yeah, those are most definitely coming. They're being implemented in places around the world and etc. And I've heard about tests going on here in the United States with the robot dogs and other types of robots and whatnot. Um, so it's coming. It is coming. Make no mistake about that. Yeah, it's kind of storming here. As Marilyn said, her work is literally right down the road from where I'm sitting. So, so when she says it's storming where she's at, it's storming where I'm at. So, yeah, it's coming down pretty good too. It's loud. I'm surprised that you all can't hear it through my microphone. but, but yeah, apparently, she gets hit with one single BB out of the shotgun shell. You know, and she thought she got shot with a BB gun. Oh, when they find out the truth, it's a freaking shotgun blast caused by a dog in a car and a shotgun that should have never had a shell in the chamber. Anytime you have children or animals around a loaded weapon, there should never be one in the chamber so that it can be fired accidentally. So, right, right. Anyway, I agree with the writer of this article. I hope they didn't punish the animal. Animal was, it seems to me from the story, was curious as to what the humans were doing. They were, they had gotten out of the car at the gas stop and RoboCop. Yeah. So you want to go from just straight out robots to cyborgs already? That's because RoboCop was a cyborg combination, human and robot. So yeah, you want to just skip over a whole level of technology, go straight to cyborgs. Oh, I don't know. Maybe if you give the cyborg's human side the full control over the robot side, um, you might come out a little better than the movie. So I mean, we could probably if we did it that way, just use the cyborg situation as a way for people to live on when their body starts you know decaying and dying, breaking down and whatnot in old age. So if they use it that way, then a human robot cyborg, a mashup, so to speak, could be a law enforcement officer and would have a great advantage over regular police officers. Because they would have access to internet and etc. They would have high speed reflexes and etc. They wouldn't need food, you know, um, not in the same way that a regular human would. Of course, the brain needs to have oxygen and certain nutrients, but you know, those can be just like a cartridge that they stick in, and they're good to go. So, but anyway, I hope that the dog wasn't punished or anything, because he or she was just curious as to what the humans were doing. They were outside the car and not paying attention to him. He was running back and forth between one side and the other, trying to see what the humans were doing, and apparently, paw or claw triggered the shotgun. Probably scared the crap out of poor little dog. You know, and it's amazing to me that the dog wasn't uh, hit with some of those BBs. You know, right? Because those the so-called protests that are actually riots. They're not protests. You know, they're not legal. You don't have the right to protest. I've said this so many times. You do not have the right to protest. You have the right to peacefully assemble to redress your grievances to the government. The minute you start, hindering people from going down the sidewalk, the minute you start breaking the noise ordinance with loud noise and music, and the sirens on a megaphone, and screaming through a megaphone, and all of that stuff, the minute you start destroying property, etc., you are breaking the law. You are not peacefully assembling to redress your grievances to the government, and you're in violation of the law. And in most places, in order to have a peaceful assembly to redress your grievances to the government, you need a permit. And so, if you're doing any type of protest, without a permit, you're again breaking the law. Oh yes, I remember. I remember the sit-ins, Maryland. So I mean, anything outside of the law is illegal, and hey, our robo-cops, for lack of a better term, would be putting that stuff down in a heartbeat. I mean, they would end so-called protests because they're breaking the law. That may be a thing, Loaded, in the future. Loaded says, quote, I would like it if police could send a robot for some of their calls, like a domestic disturbance. And that may actually be a thing in the future, with the humanoid robots that we're coming out with. Various different companies are coming out with. It may actually be possible. Um, what's going on, James? James is in the chat from Empty Pockets Podcast. What is going on, man? But anyway, it may be a possibility in the future that they could initially. Now, police would have to be on the scene. Actual police would have to be on the scene, and but they could send the robot in first to assess the situation, and possibly to you know de escalate things in whatever means necessary, whether that might be talking or whether that might be actual physical interaction, you know. So, yeah, I mean, that might actually be a thing in the future, but we haven't gotten there yet. Yeah, we're not quite there yet. So, yeah, Tesla cops, why not? So, anyway, let's hit the next story or the next article. It's not a story; it actually happened. So the next one is kind of gross, but it's still one of those things that you just can't make it up, man. Yeah, I mean, for real, for real. Check this out. A Houston attorney is charged with felony bestiality. For those who don't know what bestiality is, that is sexual contact with an animal, a dog, a cat, whatever the case may be. Um, a long time ago, and I don't know if they still do it, but a long time ago, there used to be a thing in the gay community called felching, and that was using a tube to put um, gerbils, mice, etc., into the rectum. Why somebody would want to do that, I don't know, because it would seem that critter would do anything it could to get out, and could cause you severe, severe injury. But anyway, that's bestiality. Having any type of, yeah, that's exactly right, James. I'm not going to repeat you, but that is exactly right. And loaded, I agree. A robot would be better than sending a social worker. We remember that big case here just shortly ago when they sent the social worker, and the social worker got attacked by the suspect, and the cops had to jump in anyway. But anyway, back to this. The Houston attorney charged with felony bestiality after his wife catches him raping the family dog on hidden surveillance camera. Now you're gonna trip out as to why and how this happened. A 56-year-old Houston estate planning attorney has been hit with felony bestiality charges after his own wife caught him in the act of sexually assaulting the family dog on home surveillance footage. The man, identified as Stephen Swain, has been charged with felony bestiality after authorities say his wife turned over surveillance footage allegedly showing him engaging in sexual acts with the family dog. By the way, that dog's name was Shipley. Now, Shipley is going to have doggy therapy for the rest of his life. According to local reporting citing court documents, the wife installed cameras inside the home after becoming suspicious, later identifying both her husband and the dog in the footage before removing the animal from the home for its safety. Swain reportedly turned himself in to face the charges. He posted a $7,500 bond and is due back in court this coming Tuesday. The dog is now safe with the wife, and the case remains active. According to ex user Michelle GCR, according to court records, filed in the 183rd District Court with Judge Lance Long. Investigators were contacted by the Houston SPCA after a woman reported discovering disturbing surveillance footage recorded inside the family home near Providence Park in Houston. The probable cause affidavit alleges the video showed Swain lying in bed exposing himself while repeatedly calling the small black dog Shipley over to him. The details that followed are genuinely sickening. And don't worry, the article doesn't actually go into those particular details, the sickening ones. Um, Court records state Swain's wife told investigators she began reviewing home security footage after learning her husband had allegedly been bringing sex workers into the home. She states she had the cameras installed recently because the home was under renovation and they had contractors working in the home. She discovered the video while reviewing the footage. Authorities say she positively identified both Swain and the dog in the video. She then left him, I would hope so, and took the dog with her and does not know his current location. She states she believes this may have happened more than once. Probably, probably. And this is the dog raper in question. That picture right there. That is your dog raper. So, and that's the entirety of the article. Now, so I would say, how about we all pray for Shipley? You know, Shipley had it hard, man, literally. Well, Shipley gonna be in doggy therapy for the rest of his little life. You know, I don't know what kind of dog Shipley is. You know, probably not a big dog because I don't think this guy would have been brave enough to rape a big dog. Well, maybe the couple really liked those donuts from Shipley's Donuts or however they call it, and they just decided to name their dog, their little black dog, you know, Shipley. Um, right, right. That would be cool. Yeah, Shipley needs to definitely get a restraining order keeping that man away from him, far, far away from him. But hopefully he'll get some jail time and have to explain to his fellow inmates why he is in prison. You know, I raped a dog. You know, so if there's any further information coming out about this case, I will let you all know. I will most definitely let you all know. So really, really quick. Okay, it's not letting me do it. So all right, they put the light on and told me I needed to do an ad read, but it wouldn't let me do it. So screw it. They can shove their ad reads if they're not going to let me do them. So, but anyway, no shekel break today. So I mean, I think that that should be, the punishment. He goes to prison and has to explain, to his fellow inmates why he is in prison. So most definitely a gross piece of crap. Uh, Absolutely, James. I don't know what, what people, see in doing stuff like that to animals. I mean, yeah, I understand, that maybe, they want to get their rocks off, and they can't get their woman to assist them with that, you know but you're gonna have to wrestle with that animal to try to, just to try to do that. It's, that cannot be an actual enjoyable experience. So I mean, I just don't understand, the attraction to, doing things like that to an animal. It's gross to me. A Muslim judge will let him off. I hope not. These days, anything's possible, though. For real, for real. You know, these days, anything is possible. Okay, this one is kind of semi political, sort of, because it involves a senator. So here we go. Democrat Senator Andy Kim is pepper sprayed by ICE during Memorial Day riot at the ICE facility. Kind of think that's funny. Senator Andy Kim was pepper sprayed by ICE agents while participating in a riot outside of an ICE detention facility in Newark, New Jersey on Monday. Instead of spending Memorial Day honoring our fallen troops, Kim joined the rioters attacking law enforcement alongside New Jersey Governor Mike Sherrill and Representatives Rob Menendez, LaMonica McIver, and Nellie Pooh. LaMonica McIver has already had a run in with ICE and had charges brought on her. So, yeah, she's going for more charges there. Masked leftist writers were seen vandalizing the city and removing large blocks from the sidewalks to set up barricades outside of the Delaney Hall Detention Center to block vehicles leaving the facility. In multiple clips circulating online, the insurrectionists, and that's exactly what they are, insurrectionists, could be seen searching through the vehicles with flashlights before allowing them to pass. Kim was seen at one point attempting to negotiate with the insurrectionists, asking them to stop throwing things at vehicles and to clear a path in the parking lot. Kim is then seen apologizing to the protesters and instigating further unrest after ICE agents pushed through the crowds. Quote, I don't trust them, Kim told the left wing rioters after blaming ICE for failing to make a quote deal. Pepper spray and pepper balls were later deployed during a clash between agents and rioters. Kim was seen screaming at agents on an armored truck as they used crowd control measures. Video from the scene shows protesters pouring water into Kim's eyes following the incident. In a statement later, Kim described the conditions at the detention center as, quote, chaos, claiming that the violent leftists were simply, quote, families and advocates of the illegal alien detainees who were calling for help. Yeah, I know. He further blasted ICE agents, accusing them of, quote, lawlessness and calling for the ICE detention center to be shut down. You know that's not going to happen, dude. You know, because nobody believes you on any of your BS. The full statement is below. And I quote, I saw chaos inside and outside of the ICE detention center, Delaney Hall, today. Detainees protesting the lack of due process, the disgusting food, and poor treatment. I want to stop right there, though. Lack of due process. Okay, according to the law, the Constitution, due process for an illegal alien, someone here illegally, is being deported, being captured and deported. That is the extent of the due process afforded to aliens by our Constitution and thus by the law. Being captured and deported, that is their due process. Period. And we need to actually get back to that because we've strayed far and away from our Constitution when it comes to this subject. We need to get back to that, and there needs to be a difference between aliens and citizens. Because if not, then we don't even have a country. May as well not worry about border walls. May as not worry about any immigration whatsoever because we don't have a country. If there is no difference between a citizen and an alien, you don't have a country. You've just got a big piece of land where anybody and everybody can stay, and everybody is treated the same no matter what. So you know there's no benefit in being a citizen of a country. So nobody will be. But I digress. Okay. Detainees protesting the lack of due process, the disgusting food and poor treatment, while their families and advocates stood outside calling for help. Instead of engaging with me and others about the poor conditions, ICE sent in an armored vehicle and a line of armed agents that only poured gasoline on the fire. That's what the Democrats have been doing ever since Trump has been in office. And it's simply because it has nothing to do with what ICE is doing, because during Biden's regime, the ICE was doing the exact same thing. During the Obama regime, ICE was doing the exact same thing. And in fact, we're way more hardcore about it than they are now. And yet nobody complained. There was no issues at all whatsoever. I hear you, James. I hear you. Um, but nobody complained under the Democrat rule. And what ICE was doing, is no different than what they're doing now. It is only because Trump is in office that they're doing any of this. It has absolutely nothing to do with those illegal aliens. or their due process, or the food, or any of that crap. Those are just excuses to sow chaos. Civilians were tackled and restrained, and agents fired pepper balls and pepper spray into the crowd. This is more of the same lawlessness we've seen elsewhere around the country. No, they're actually upholding the law. It is the rioters, the so called protesters, who don't have a right to protest. There is no constitutional right to protest. There is a right to peacefully gather, peacefully assemble, to redress your grievances to the government. Peacefully assemble, not riot, not protest, not do anything outside of what the law allows. And everything about these protests and riots is outside of the law. They don't have a right to do it. No matter how much they scream that they have a right to do it, they don't have a right to do it, because the law says so. The Constitution says so. You do not have a protected right to protest whatsoever at all. The hippies back in the 60s and 70s peacefully protested. They would have sit-ins, and they would have sleep-ins, and things like that. Love-ins, etc. They gathered peacefully to redress their grievances to the government whenever they saw something that they thought was wrong. They didn't go destroying things. They didn't go attacking people. They didn't go blocking law enforcement from doing their duty. They didn't go fighting with law enforcement. You know, you know, none of that. They would peacefully assemble. That's it. They would peacefully assemble. Now they would let people know why they were doing what they were doing. You know, that's how you redress your grievances to the government. Is you have a peaceful gathering. You don't protest. You gather, and then you let the government and the people know why you have gathered, and why you're refusing to leave, why you're doing certain actions, you know, etc. Hey, that would probably be a good idea, Edmund. Um, to assign a RoboCop to each officer for backup, similar to how they use canines now. That would probably be a really good idea. It might lessen the amount of officers who actually end up being injured in these situations. Now, I'm sure the officers would also have to engage, because they're going in against crowds of people who are violent, and they accuse the conservatives of being the violent ones, when you can see that they're actually the violent ones. Every time you turn around, you're hearing and seeing violence coming from the left. But yet they accuse the conservatives of being the violent group. Our country deserves accountability, he goes on to say. Our country deserves the humane treatment of every person here. In fact, our Constitution demands this. What I witnessed and experienced today was shameful. Delaney Hall is a failure, and this administration's failure. The only way to make this right for our communities is to shut it down and make sure the failures we've seen never happen again. Well, it's only a failure in his mind and in the mind of Democrats because it doesn't let their new voting bloc run free and do whatever the heck they want to do, criminal or otherwise. The Department of Homeland Security responded to the incident, writing, no individuals were directly struck by pepperball projectiles. On May 25th, 2026, rioters obstructed law enforcement from exiting the ICE facility. Officers used multiple lawful verbal commands for rioters to clear the area. Rioters refused to follow law enforcement commands and continued to obstruct the exit route. Our law enforcement followed their training and used the minimum amount of force necessary to protect themselves, the public, and federal property. The First Amendment protects speech and peaceful assembly, not rioting. I'll repeat that again because it is what I have been saying. The First Amendment protects peaceful assembly and speech, not rioting, not protest. DHS is taking appropriate and constitutional measures to uphold the rule of law and protect our officers and the public from dangerous rioters. We remind the public that rioting is dangerous. Obstructing law enforcement is a federal crime, and assaulting law enforcement is a felony. I'm going to repeat that again, too. We remind the public that rioting is dangerous. Obstructing law enforcement is a federal crime. A federal crime. And assaulting law enforcement is a felony. It's a felony. You want to destroy your prospects for the future, and for some people destroy their current life? Go commit a felony. I really think that law enforcement should go back to the way they were in the 60s and 70s. You know, because when they go up into a riot and with their lead filled billy clubs and start cracking some skulls, people will think twice about rioting and protesting. They will start doing what the hippies did. They'll start having sit-ins and love-ins and sleep-ins, things like that, and peacefully redress their grievances to the government rather than all of this chaos. And let me tell you, they back in the 60s and 70s, they used to use the water cannons. When you get hit by one of those water cannons, that crap hurts. It can knock you back a good 10, 12 feet or more, depending on how heavy you are. And so, I mean, if they go back to the tactics of the old days, then, people would start thinking twice about going out there and acting the fool. I didn't see the video that is supposed to be on here. There's supposed to be a video that we're supposed to be able to see, and I am not seeing it. That's why I didn't play it, is because I didn't see it. Okay. There is a link here that might be. Let me see. Well, here's one video. Let me share this with you. Let me.
Lock it arms. Lock it arms. Somebody needs to record. We need to record in case there's violence. We're not. Yep.
This is at one point the Department of Homeland Security started to, in order to keep the peace, started allowing protesters to shine their light and search the inside of vehicles as they exited the facility.
Thank you.
Good. Get out. Good.
Hey, let him in. They always hide in their face. You ashamed, but people can find out your information by your license plate. Ambulance ain't gonna take a bunch of detainees with that.
All
All right. Till next time. Till next time. Till next time. Till next time. Till next time.
Bringing them from the hospital back to here?
No.
Where?
You're going to have to get the officers that's there watching. Fuck no. Fuck no.
Oh, but they take people to the hospital. That's a lie. There's people in there talking about they don't get medical care and shit. So, like, what you mean?
Yeah.
You got inside orders.
So there you go. Let's see if we can find any more clips. Okay, that's the same clip. Okay. All right. I'm not seeing any more clips there. So, let's move on. And yet another, you just can't make it up. A crazed man kidnaps a Chicago bus driver at knife point, leads her to jump out window. Page is glitching all over the place. A bus driver in Chicago was kidnapped at knife point, prompting her to flee the assailant by jumping out of the vehicle's window. The suspect, a male, was riding the CTA bus around 2:40 a.m. when he allegedly pulled a knife and demanded that the bus keep going, according according to a report from WLS-TV. The driver of the bus, a 57-year-old woman, indeed kept driving on North Clark Street on the near north side. She tripped a silent alarm, and after her supervisor located the bus, she escaped out of the window. The bus had driven more than 6 miles after leaving the typical route. The suspect then exited the bus and ran into Washington Park. He was taken into custody around 3:20 a.m. Michelle Townsend, second VP of the Amalgamated Transit Union Local 241, said the driver could watch the suspect threatening her in the mirror. Quote, she could see him through the mirror, what he was doing, jabbing with the knife like he was going to stab her, but only doing it in a motion like she could see through the mirror, Townsend described. WLS-TV reported that the suspect's desires were unclear. He was apparently able to circumvent the clear cage typically included in buses to protect drivers. A subsequent report from WLS-TV identified the man as 51-year-old Linnell Fields. He has been charged with aggravated armed kidnapping, aggravated unlawful restraint, and aggravated assault. Okay, cool, James. Y'all have a good show. Talk with you later. Um, Fields was ordered held. Darn it, my highlighter. Fields was ordered held and was due back in court May 20th. He has a criminal record that reaches back to 2001 per WLS TV. The offenses for which he has been convicted include looting, burglaries, battery, and damage to property. So he does have violence in his history with the battery. The The incident in Chicago is only the latest of career criminals who often have decades of criminal activity under their belts, terrorizing the residents of major cities. In one particularly harrowing November 2025 incident, a 26-year-old woman was set ablaze on a CTA train. Yeah, we remember that when I reported on it. The alleged attacker, 50-year-old Lawrence Reed, was charged with committing a terrorist act against a mass transportation system. He was on electronic monitoring when he lit the unsuspecting young woman on fire, according to a report from CBS News. A judge in Cook County had declined to hold him on an aggravated battery charge, which stemmed from him allegedly hitting a social worker. So, I mean, that really that enforces your desire to send social workers instead of police officers, doesn't it? You know? So, wow. The video that I showed you about the riot, that was hang on, it was in New Jersey. It was in New Jersey, Elf. Right, right, Newark, Newark, New Jersey. Right, right. They're already talking about doing that stuff if they're able to gain power again. They're already talking about that, Elf. And they've been saying it for quite a while. And I believe that when people tell you who they are and what they're going to do, and they don't have any shame about it or any fear of retribution, you should believe them. I really do believe that. Okay, now we are at the titular uh, article, the one that is on my thumbnail, and here it is. Epstein's former assistant, Sarah Kellen, testifies before a House Oversight Committee, says she was a victim of the late pedophile, quote, sexually and psychologically abused on a weekly basis. I don't know. Does that look like someone who was abused to you? I mean, maybe, but I mean, mm, mm. Kellen also accused three previously unmentioned men of alleged sexual abuse. One of the most perverse aspects of Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking ring was the fact that he usually groomed and upgraded his victims to become co conspirators, had them from being abused to farming out and helping victimize others. This makes any reckoning effort so hard and difficult to implement. This week, the U.S. House Oversight Committee heard the testimony of Epstein's longtime assistant, Sarah Kellen in what has been described as one of the most relevant appearances yet. Kellen is a clear example of this, quote, dark satanic mill that grinds victims into perps, as she tells the committee that she was, quote, sexually and psychologically abused by the late pedophile for over a decade. Now, Mario Knopfel posts on X, Sarah Kellen described as Epstein's right-hand woman alongside Ghislaine Maxwell, just sat for hours with the House Oversight Committee and gave up 3 brand new names of alleged abusers. Comer called it the most substantive interview they've done yet. And here is a piece of video for you all.
Has been called a Jeffrey Epstein second in command after working for him and his apparent madam, Ghislaine Maxwell, for years. And she has just named names we apparently hadn't really spoken about before in connection with Epstein's alleged empire of abuse. And reportedly, we just found out who those people are. Raises a lot of questions. Was Kellen a vulnerable and helpless victim, or was she a willing participant in Epstein's alleged sex trafficking organization? The House Oversight Committee tried to get answers this week from her during a highly anticipated closed-door interview.
Of all the people that we've interviewed thus far, this was by far the most substantive and productive interview that we've had.
We're breaking down what we know about Sarah Kellen, her deep connections to Jeffrey Epstein, and more about those names. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Sarah Kellen. You've likely heard that name come up in connection with Jeffrey Epstein and his alleged criminal empire, which was reportedly devoted to satisfying his sexual desires. When you look at the government files connected to Epstein, it has essentially exposed Kellen as allegedly being one of Jeffrey Epstein's right-hand women, alongside, of course, Ghislaine Maxwell. So it is a big deal that she agreed to come forward and speak with the House Oversight Committee about her time in Epstein's inner circle. She appeared Thursday for a closed-door interview with committee members where she was questioned 4 hours by lawmakers from both sides of the aisle. Committee Chairman James Comer spoke with reporters before this interview got underway.
This is a witness that was a personal assistant to Mr. Epstein. She was also a victim of Mr. Epstein. So we're bringing her in. We have a lot of questions about everything from the day-to-day activities to what she saw and what she knows. And hopefully it'll help us as we proceed in the investigation. It's going to be a tough interview. Of all the interviews we've done, this is going to be the toughest one. I'm here to listen and learn. Obviously, I can't imagine the scenario that she was in. And obviously, we know enough about Epstein to know that he was a terrible person and he was abusing these women. Now, it appears to me the Department of Justice considered her, not necessarily a co-conspirator, but rather, I don't want to say whistleblower, but someone that aided in the prosecution of Epstein. So we've just got a lot of questions about that. I know how the Department of Justice viewed her. I don't know how the Oversight Committee will view her. We're obviously, she's presumed innocent. She's going to have due process, and I appreciate her being here today. And we certainly look forward to her testimony. But again, it's going to be hard because, there's some that believe she was, 100% a victim or survivor. And then there's some that think she was a victim and victimizer. So it's just a terrible scenario. I've read her story. I've read her opening statement, and I know that, this is going to be a tough one for us.
Now, Kellen has been described as Epstein and Maxwell's basically an assistant, a staffer, with one source reportedly telling the New York Post in 2024 that Kellen, quote, had a front row seat to the debauchery. And Kellen's name is mentioned many times in the Epstein Files library on the DOJ website. And there are candid photos of her spending time around Maxwell and Epstein and powerful friends. Her name can be seen on passenger manifests for private jet flights, like this manifest, which shows her traveling with Epstein, French fashion model scout, and alleged sexual predator Jean-Luc Brunel, and 3 people just listed as female. So here's how a civil lawsuit, okay, that was filed against Epstein, just how it described Sarah Kellen. This was filed more than a decade ago, but it described her as, quote, defendant Jeffrey Epstein's key lieutenant in the organization was defendant Sarah Kellen, who served as both his scheduler and a recruiter procurer of the girls. And despite those allegations, and despite being named in official investigations, Kellen has never faced any sort of criminal charges related to sex trafficking or abuse or exploitation or anything else. I'm going to talk about why. In fact, she was reportedly included in a Florida non-prosecution agreement that got Epstein off the hook for federal charges. Remember this? It was the alleged assault of young girls at his Palm Beach mansion. Again, I'll get more into that in a minute, but first, I just want you to read some of Kellen's own words that were written as part of an opening statement for her interview with these lawmakers. It was published in part by ABC News. We don't have the transcript yet. We don't have the video deposition yet or the video interview yet. When it comes out, maybe we'll do a follow-up on it. But I'm going to warn you, what she had to say is very, very difficult to listen to. So it says, quote, he groomed me, sexually and psychologically abused me, controlled me, manipulated me, dominated me, and gaslit me until I could no longer tell which thoughts were mine and which were his. According to the report from ABC, Kellen says that she was working at a hotel out in Hawaii when she was recruited by a coworker for a job with Jeffrey Epstein. And she says she had gotten married when she was just 17 years old. And then after getting a divorce, she was excommunicated from her church. So you're talking about a very difficult time in her life. Her statement, according to ABC, continues, I was 21 years old, far from where I grew up, stuck on an island in the middle of nowhere with no college degree, no family, no friends, no money, and nowhere to live. And she claims that that situation made her a perfect target for Jeffrey Epstein. Quote, after months of unpaid labor, he instructed me to draw him a bath and ordered me to undress and get in with him. And he said, the job is yours. Now you just have to keep it. He then pulled me onto his bed and made clear what keeping the job required. Only after I submitted to his sexual abuse did the paychecks begin. She goes on to say, he knew everyone in the fashion industry, academics, finance, government, powerful world leaders, dictators, and everyone in between. From the beginning, he showed me that he was more powerful than basically anyone in the world. Jeffrey was able to fool and manipulate the brightest minds in the world. Us victims didn't stand a chance. And during a break in this interview, you had Representative Comer just express shock at some of the information that Kellen was revealing.
Let me say, Sarah Kellen has been very helpful. Of all the people that we've interviewed thus far, this was by far the most substantive and productive interview that we've had. She was very brave coming forward. I can't imagine how difficult it was for her to go into detail about the abuse that she endured at the hands of Epstein and Maxwell. One very positive thing today is she gave us 3 names of people that were involved in abuse. These were new names for us. So we'll be releasing the transcript as quickly as possible. I know there are some names of some victims that she also mentioned that we're going to have to agree on redactions and things like that. But as far as the men that were abusers, alleged abusers, then we'll the whole world will see that and we'll be able to move forward.
And
There you have it. What they were willing to discuss with reporters. ABC News reported, quote, he groomed me, sexually and psychologically abused me, controlled me, manipulated me, dominated me, and gaslit me until I could no longer tell which thoughts were mine and which were his. Sounds like brainwashing to me. Breaking a person down and then rebuilding them, in your own little warped image. Kellen has been the subject of criminal investigations, but has never been charged. Chairman James Comer called Kellen's appearance, quote, the most substantive, productive interview we've had, and said that Kellen had given the committee 3 new names of people that were involved in sexual abuse. And RT on X says 3 new names in Epstein case. During closed-door interview, Epstein's ex-assistant, Sarah Kellen, has reportedly provided investigators with 3 previously undisclosed names allegedly connected to Epstein's abuse network, CNN reports. The names have not been publicly disclosed. A CNN report states that these men are Frederick Fekkai, a French celebrity hairstylist, Philip Levine, and the former mayor of Miami Beach and cruise industry entrepreneur, and Patrick Demarchelier, a French fashion photographer. Um, Back in the ABC News report, Kellen said she was recruited for the job as Epstein's assistant at 17 years old. Now I'm gonna go ahead and say that CNN report naming those names, that is, as of yet unconfirmed. I haven't seen anything that officially actually names these names. So it is unconfirmed that these are the men in question. However, the very fact that CNN has put out a report using these people's names probably has just destroyed their lives, whether they are the people or not. Quote, I was 21 years old, far from where I grew up, stuck on an island in the middle of nowhere with no college degree, no family, no friends, no money, and nowhere to live, she said. After months of unpaid labor, he instructed me to draw him a bath on his island, then ordered me to undress and get in with him. And he said, quote, the job is yours. Now you just have to keep it, she said in the statement. Quote, he then pulled me onto his bed and made clear what, quote, keeping the job required. Only after I submitted to his sexual abuse did the paychecks begin. And let's see, anticipating questioning from committee members about why she stayed with Epstein even after he went to jail for a crime involving an underage girl, she explained that she felt she had, quote, nowhere else to go. I had no money, no family, no education, and no sense that I deserved any better, her statement said. She also said she was fearful of defying him. Quote, he knew everyone in the fashion industry, academics, finance, government, powerful world leaders, dictators, and everyone in between. From the beginning, he showed me that he was more powerful than basically anyone in the world. Jeffrey was able to fool and manipulate the brightest minds in the world. Us victims didn't stand a chance. I was a high school dropout from North Carolina. I was a silent body in a chair beside men who started and ended wars. I understood completely that if Jeffrey could walk into those rooms, he could walk into any room in the entire world. He could find me anywhere on earth. And yes, it is, Marilyn. So, what say you all? Was she victim or co-conspirator? You know, I don't know. To me, kind of sounds like she was brainwashed into moving from victim to co-conspirator. But it also sounds like she continued to be a victim even after she was a co-conspirator. I may be wrong. Time will tell. You know, but what is your opinion? Let me know in the chat. And if you're watching this on replay, jump in the comments, leave a comment. Let me know what your opinion is. Up next, UK scientists are rushing to create Ebola vaccine using COVID jab technology. Another vaccine nobody will take, even if they've contracted Ebola. Really? All right, here we go. UK researchers are rushing to develop a new Ebola vaccine based on the exact same viral vector platform used in the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 jab. The effort comes as a new outbreak of Bundibugyo strain of Ebola continues to spread in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The Oxford Vaccine Group announced it is urgently producing its candidate vaccine. And I am not even going to try to tell you what that says, which could enter human clinical trials in as little as 2 to 3 months if animal testing succeeds. Bundibugyo Ebola virus is one of the less common but still highly lethal strains of Ebola. Unlike the more frequently seen Zaire strain, there are currently no licensed vaccines or specific treatments approved for Bundibugyo virus disease. The WHO and local authorities have described the situation as, quote, spreading rapidly with contact tracing and quarantine efforts underway. However, the risk to the UK and broader Europe remains low. According to the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control, the candidate vaccine is a monovalent single strain vaccine specifically targeting the Bundibugyo Ebola virus. Really? It uses I'm not even going to try to say that, viral vector platform, the same chimpanzee adenovirus based technology used for the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID 19 vaccine. This platform was chosen because it is, quote, highly adjustable and can be quickly modified to target different pathogens. In the statement, the OVG emphasized they are working urgently while adhering to established scientific, ethical, and regulatory. Um, whoa, that is crazy. My page is going crazy. Okay, where was I? Working urgently while adhering to established scientific, ethical, and regulatory standards. The statement reads in part, the research team embedded in these trials have continued to developing vaccines against multiple filoviruses, including Sudan Ebola virus and Marburg virus, during outbreaks in Uganda, Equatorial Guinea, Tanzania between 2022 and 2025. Vaccines designed and tested by Professor Teresa Lamb and her team based in OVG and the Pandemic Sciences Institute were selected by the World Health Organization for inclusion in ring vaccination trials. should they have been needed. The whatever that is platform, a type of viral vector vaccine, has previously demonstrated a vital role in the development of vaccines for emerging infectious diseases and responding to outbreak scenarios. This platform underpinned the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID 19 vaccine, which was estimated to have saved more than 6 million lives in its first year of use globally. I seriously doubt that. This long-standing work and existing expertise are critical in enabling a rapid response during public health emergencies. Professor Teresa Lamb, uh, Kaliva, head of vaccine immunology at the Oxford Vaccine Group, said, quote, "My hope is that this outbreak can be brought under control quickly and that vaccines are ultimately not needed. Nevertheless, our team and partners will continue working to ensure that potential vaccine options are available if they are needed." Quote, "The ability to move rapidly in situations like this has been built on many years of vaccine research and close collaboration with our global partners," Lamb added. So they're trying to create a vaccine that they deem isn't even needed. That's their determination, according to the article that I just read. That's their determination that it's not even needed at this point, and that they could possibly get this completely under control and taken care of without such vaccines. So, if it's not needed, why bother? I wouldn't trust a vaccine that that they produce, at the drop of a hat, um, with barely any testing, for any virus. I'd just have to go on and die if that was the case. That's me personally. Maybe some of you might go ahead and trust the vaccine or whatever. Maybe some of you did. I don't know. I didn't during COVID. I never took the shot and never got COVID, and I was amongst a very vulnerable population. So there's that. Up next, one of our favorite individuals. I'm being sarcastic here. Um, opened his mouth, and apparently the wrong thing came out. Something that he didn't intend to come out of his mouth, and I'm going to tell you all about it. Here is the article. Far left Twitch Marxist Hassan Piker. We all know who Hassan Piker is. Accidentally admits pro-China billionaire Neville Roy Singham. We know who he is bankrolling a massive, quote, political movement in America. And there he is. I am really getting irritated with my page constantly. He is doing a quick live stream in between his testimony and etc. So that is what that picture is from. Radical leftist commentator Hassan Piker just dropped a massive truth bomb that confirms what conservatives have warned about for years. Foreign aligned communist wealth is actively weaponizing American nonprofits to subvert our country from within. During a recent broadcast, Piker openly admitted that Neville Roy Singham, a notorious ultra wealthy American Marxist tycoon currently hiding out in communist China, has been using his massive fortune as a quote funding vehicle for a lot of political movements in the country. Fox News Digital senior investigations editor Azra Nomani highlighted the clip, noting the significance of Piker's characterization of Singham not merely as a donor, but as a backer of organized political movements. Nomani wrote, quote, on Twitch just now, Marxist Hassan Piker makes an important admission. He says American Marxist pro-China tycoon Neville Roy Singham has funded a, quote, political movement in the U.S. That's a significant characterization. Piker went to Cuba as part of a convoy organized by nonprofits that were funded by Singham. As I've reported at Fox News Digital, Singham has pumped $285 million since 2017 into pro-communist nonprofits, including Code Pink, which is also facing Treasury Department scrutiny for possibly violating sanctions against the Communist Party of Cuba. The groups that Singham has funded are 501c3 and 501c4 nonprofits that are not supposed to be part of, quote, political movements. Now, 501c4s can, however, actually be political. That is the title under which many PACs, political action committees, are formed under. So 501c3, however, cannot engage in political activity or be a part of a political movement. They can't. The 501c3s can't be supporting candidates protesting administration, both Democrat and Republican policies, and messaging consistently anti-U.S. political positions. Right, Elf. Well, he is a far left Marxist. You know, he's a communist, absolutely. Right, right. I mean, it's all in promotion of the communist agenda. So Piker claims, quote, the goal of a probe into his Cuba trip isn't him, but Singham. He spoke out about Singham, as friends call him, Roy Singham. Quote, he's been a funding vehicle for a lot of political movements in the country, a lot of activism. They're trying to jam him up. That's it. That's the goal here. They get to chill speech. Well, no, that is not the goal. But, however, you know, there are laws regarding what Singham does. what he is doing. So Piker says Trump administration National Security Advisor Sebastian Gorka is, quote, behind the scrutiny. He didn't provide evidence. Of course he didn't. He never provides evidence for the things that he says. Talking about Piker here. Piker, attempting to frame himself as the victim of government overreach, described Singham this way. Quote, Roy Singham is an American citizen. He lives in China now, and he is a centimillionaire. He's been a funding vehicle for a lot of political movements in the country, like a lot of activism. That statement is likely to raise eyebrows.
Right? It's like totally fucking ridiculous to try and to try and stop like the political advocacy of
really
an American
with their camera.
citizen. Right? Roy Singham is an American citizen. He lives in China now, and he's a centimillionaire. I think he like has almost $1 billion. Not sure how much money he has now, but like he's been a funding vehicle for a lot of like political movements in the country, like a lot of activism, and they hate that shit. Like the American government hates that shit, so they're trying to jam him up. You know, they're trying to hit him on anything and everything they possibly can. That's it. That's the goal here. That's the broader goal, and
I agree with you.
And it's great from the administration's perspective because I think they get to chill speech, right? They get to say, "Listen, we will fucking destroy your life if you even think about doing activism against us," right? I mean, it's a much larger goal of the administration. The idea of like counterterrorism initiatives being focused entirely on left movements. Solidarity campaigns and the like. It's not new. This is something that they've signaled that they wanted to do. And this is just the next step in line with that agenda. Many Americans are, as I've said over and over again, sleepwalking into fascism. Completely and utterly oblivious that the administration has declared war on anti-fascism, and you only do that if you are a fucking fascist. This is a fascist administration that has decided that some of the telltale markers of terrorism in this country are people who are anti-capitalist, anti-fascist, they say radical transgender activists, and even things as vague that captures virtually every liberal as well, things that are anti-family values, right? And Sebastian Gorka is behind it. So just so you understand. Now, of course, the number one hurdle that these guys have, ahead of them is the First Amendment. In this country, the First Amendment has literally stopped the American government from prosecuting the Klan. Well, that and also the fact that, some of those who are in the force were also wearing the robes themselves. But regardless, like, the First Amendment is one of the most important rules in the rule book. It stopped the government from actively prosecuting the Klan.
Oh no, he doesn't generally wear suit and tie. Every time I've seen him, he's been wearing, like some sweats and a t-shirt and things like that. So yeah, he doesn't generally, from what I've seen, wear a suit and tie. He's actually producing that stream right there that you just saw, that was a clip from a stream, a live stream that he was producing in between testimony at in front of the House committee. So he's dressed in a suit, for going, before that committee. So, as the Gateway pundit reported repeatedly, Singham, who said his company for he sold his company for hundreds of millions and relocated to Shanghai, married Code Pink co-founder Jody Evans and turned the group into a CCP propaganda arm. His dark money network has funded everything from violent anti-ICE riots to pro-Hamas chaos to pro-Cuba solidarity stunts. House Oversight Chair James Comer, Representative Anna Paulina Luna, and Senator Tom Cotton have all called for freezing his assets and investigating the foreign influence operation. As the Gateway pundit reported, the Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, has already issued subpoenas to Code Pink co-founder Medea Benjamin and communist influencer Hassan Piker over their participation in the Nuestra America convoy to Cuba. It can be recalled that a bunch of American liberals, in cooperation with various transnational communist and socialist organizations, set out to, quote, break the U.S. blockade of Cuba. They delivered millions to the Cuban regime and never once addressed the fact that citizens have almost no human rights, no protected freedoms, and do not vote in free and fair elections. The Nuestra America convoy arrived in Havana on March 21st, 2026. And was greeted by Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel. The convoy, named after an 1891 essay by Cuban writer Jose Marti, was organized by Progressive International in coordination with a coalition of aligned groups. The organizing network consisted of hard left and anti-capitalist organizations, including the International Association of Democratic Lawyers, which was designated by the CIA during the Cold War as a Soviet-aligned front organization, and Progressive International, whose published materials endorse socialist central planning and express support for communist revolutionary movements. Oh. And that is the end of that article. So, Hassan Piker has apparently given the Oversight Committee confirmation to information that they already had, but confirmation enough to step up their investigations into Neville Singham and his network. Now, so I bet you the left is really happy with him now. But he's trying to deflect any um, scrutiny and any possible um, investigations and charges and etc. away from himself, and he's doing that by putting the light on Neville Singham, who he believes is immune from anything that the United States government might do. And I'm here to tell you he's not. But yeah, that's all that's going on here. Is Hassan Piker is trying to protect his own butt, and I believe that put under the right kind of pressure, Hassan Piker would give up literally anything and everything that he might actually know regarding these networks and how they work and etc. But that's just my opinion, and we will see, because Hassan Piker, like him or not, he is high profile, and things that he says and does will be in the news. So we will hear more about this, and of course, I will bring any important information that comes from that to you all. That's what it's all about. I am doing this for you all. So, what do you all say? Let me know what you think about this, because I want to hear from you. You've heard from me quite a bit today. I want to hear from you. What is your opinion? Jump in that chat and let me know.
Get in the chat now! The country is depending on it!
So Little Big Tony says, get in the chat now. I will see if I can get a full list of everyone who went to the island under that initiative, and also any other entities or people who were involved in like setting it up and etc. Um, and I'll see if I can put together as much video as I can gather from that stuff, as from that trip as well. I know that there is video and etc. So um, and I will see about bringing that and presenting that to you all. What was the name of that operation that they went down there under? Nuestra America convoy. Let me know what you all think. Give me your opinion of that story I just read, or any of the other stories for that matter. Let's see, what do we have here? The Nuestra America convoy was an international delegation that traveled to Havana, Cuba, delivering tons of medical aid and supplies. Participants included a mix of international activists, journalists, high profile creators, and political figures. Notable individuals involved in the convoy include, of course, Hassan Piker, we just heard from him, Chris Smalls, labor organizer and president of the Amazon Labor Union, Isra Hersey, climate justice organizer and daughter of U.S. Representative Ilhan Omar, Kate Willett, a comedian and Democratic Socialists of America member who helped coordinate a group of creators and journalists on the trip. Kneecap members, Irish hip hop trio, Mogli Bap, DJ Proval or Provi, I can't really tell, and Mo Chara, who joined the delegation. Reverend Philip Vinod Peacock, General Secretary of the World Communion of Reformed Churches, who was part of the accompanying religious leaders delegation. Code Pink members, various organizers from the anti-war grassroots organization. And it gives me a couple of leads to get further information about the Nuestra America convoy. So there you go. You have a little bit of further information on more of the people involved. And I'll find out as much information as I can possibly dig up and share it with you all. Okay, well, apparently it doesn't seem that there's any further conversation. So I am going to go ahead and call this a show. We've gone for 2 hours, and I think that's pretty good. And we'll go ahead and call it an episode. You have a Fidel Castro labor wave song recommended to you by YouTube's algorithm last night. Wow. So you put that link up, or you want me to to play that? Is that your point behind darn it, why I'm putting it up? Okay, okay. Oh yeah, I get all the time. I get stuff that is way outside of anything that I have told YouTube that I want in my feed is way outside, and I'm like, whoa, yo, I have to tell them, hey, don't show this again, Yeah, I get a lot of stuff that's way outside of my interests, or concerns. Uh, But yeah, that's kind of interesting though that you would have, gotten that in your feed. And I just copied that link. I'm gonna look at it and see what exactly what it is and everything. Um, just out of curiosity, and right, right. Um, yeah, it might spur me on to dig deeper. It might spur me forward to dig even deeper. Yeah. So might look into the origins and the influences of its creation. Who was involved in that? See if that crosses over into any of the research that I find out about the Nueva America convoy and those involved in that. So I'm sure that I'll probably come up with some pretty interesting names in my digging. So we'll see what I can find out. So all right. Any further conversation, ideas, thoughts, opinions, et cetera, et cetera. Because if not, I'm going to continue with calling this a show. And I wish you all God's eternal blessings, as well as God's blessings upon the United States. Lord knows this country needs all the blessings it can get, as well as all the prayers. So y'all pray for America and pray for the Trump administration. And with that being said, do me a favor, go down below and hit that thumbs up, like button, whatever you want to call it. And if you're not already following the channel, please do hit that follow or subscribe button, whatever you see on your platform, or streaming to multiple platforms. And whatever you see on your platform, just go ahead and hit it, follow, subscribe, whatever. And turn your notifications on so you know when I come on. I hear you, Marilyn. I hear you. Turn your notifications on so you know when I come on, which is Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Plenty of opportunities, as I said earlier in the show, to come and see this beautiful face and for me to talk to you all. And when you do come see me, remember, Big Tony will speak on it, no matter what it is. Y'all have a great one. I am out of here, you all. I will see you all next time.
Here comes Tony, walking in the room, mic in hand, something about to boom. Tell me what you gotta say. Tell me, make it count today. Big Tony speaks, and everybody listens. Big Tony speaks, his voice just keeps on lifting. When Tony talks, you know you gotta hear him. Big Tony speaks. Sit right down, let me hear your voice. Share your thoughts, Tony gives you choice.